What if everything about self-improvement you've learned is actually hurting you? We built an entire industry around the belief that we're fundamentally broken, constantly tinker with ourselves like defective machines. Yet here's the transformative truth. The basic idea that you need fixing is the only actual problem. Envision a wave in the sea suddenly achieving consciousness and distressing because it's not firm like a boulder, because it ceaselessly changes contours. The wave would attempt mending itself to achieve consistency. How absurd would that be? Yet this is exactly the way we humans function daily. The wave is already flawless in its nature, but we convince ourselves that we're flawed projects requiring constant renovation. We've been presented with an inside-out story. You carry troubles needing fixing, elements needing enhancement. And if you push hard enough and uncover the right system, you can finally mend yourself and become your destined self. This tale is so entrenched in our society that we rarely scrutinize it. We adopt our identity as continuous works being perfected. But what if this premise is completely inverted? Here's something scandalous. You are never incomplete, never partial, never a difficulty needing answers. The only aspect demanding correction is the notion that you need correction. Think about nature. When you examine a tree, you don't appraise its boughs as lacking. The tree is splendid precisely as it appears. It grows and responds to its environment, but doesn't organize summits about personal growth. We as humans have cultivated this ability to become our own judges and supervisors. We gaze in the mirror and observe a restoration case requiring effort. Trees acquire knowledge too, uncovering which way to stretch toward light, how to sink roots deeper. However, trees don't afflict themselves over insufficient size. They respond innately to what life brings. The contrast is trees believe in their essence, while we've learned to question ours. We've been taught to consider our impulses unreliable, our answers presumably mistaken. So we construct an internal overseer judging everything we undertake. Am I performing adequately? Am I growing at the proper velocity? It's depleting, like having a micromanager in your head, endlessly finding you wanting. Yet this manager isn't your true self. It's internalized critiques, absorbed standard from parents, mentors, and society. You've taken a committee causing you to feel endlessly insufficient. But who is aware of this committee? Who observes these judgments? Something within you watches this show without being consumed. That something is what you really are. You're not the notions regarding yourself. You are the consciousness wherein all this appears like atmospheric conditions across the heavens. The sky is never harmed by atmospheric conditions. Storms emerge and fade, but the sky remains vast. In the same way, notions of inadequacy appear and vanish, yet your essence stays unaffected. You can shift and flourish without the story that you're basically defective. Observe infants learning to walk. They fall constantly. Do they form narratives about being damaged? No. They get up and continue, because walking looks delightful. Learning emerges naturally, spontaneously, without self-critique. There are two paths to change. One assumes you're broken, like a mechanic working on a faulty engine. The other realizes you're already perfect, like a gardener trusting natural growth. The technician battles while the gardener cooperates with life. Most advancement approaches are mechanical. We approach ourselves like machines needing upgraded programming. Yet, what if you're more like a garden possessing innate intelligence? When you have faith in this knowledge, you stop warring with yourself. Instead of forcing yourself into molds, you permit your essence to manifest. When you stop fighting yourself, you unleash enormous vitality for living. Consider how much energy you spend evaluating yourself. Picture if that vitality were accessible for staying present. The person who comprehends their entire focus is power on expression and finding. Here's something remarkable. When you stop endeavoring to fix yourself, elements you assume require correction frequently resolve themselves. When you discontinue creating self-criticism, your clarity crystallizes. A lot of what we think is defective arises from efforts to mend what was never defective. You might think you have an anxiety problem and apply approaches to fix it, but this effort creates more anxiety. What if being anxious at times is entirely acceptable? When you discontinue considering anxiety problematic, it frequently fades organically. We've been programmed to believe we should experience particular feelings: pleased, secure, serene. Yet emotions are the weather patterns of consciousness. Sometimes stormy, sometimes calm. This isn't dysfunction. The same holds true for personality traits we perceive as flaws. Perhaps you're introverted in a society glorifying outgoingness. Rather than mending these features, acknowledge them as your special offering. Oaks don't attempt becoming pine trees. Rivers don't apologize for not being mountains. When you receive your nature entirely, something remarkable happens. You see squander vitality pretending to be what you aren't. This doesn't mean you never learn, but growth springs from interest rather than deficiency. You evolve because growth is entertaining. Young ones don't toil at imagination. They just create naturally and easily. We develop skepticism toward innate intelligence. We've changed our internal life into an enterprise with reviews. Yet your authentic essence still exists, waiting for you to realize you were never incomplete to begin with. Here's a paradoxical truth. The more you endeavor to improve yourself, the more you validate requiring improvement. However, when you understand you were never flawed, development happens naturally, effortlessly. When you believe in your essence, growth takes place like blooms emerging gorgeously in their natural timing. This isn't indifference, but trust in the intelligence that beats your heart. So here's an experiment. Undertake an experiment. For 24 hours, cease attempting to repair yourself. Regard that day as a present to welcome. Welcome emotions without adjusting them. Witness thoughts without critiquing. Regard yourself like a close companion, with warmth, forbearance, and humor. You may find you're splendid precisely as you exist. This is the mystery. You were never damaged. You're already entire, already complete, already enough. You're not separate from life. You are life manifesting in human shape, and existence is jubilation. We're all waves on the same ocean, each unique, each perfect, each temporary. When you grasp this as living reality, you can at last ease into being yourself. Who you truly are is more wonderful than who you believe you should be. You don't require becoming closer to life because you are existence pretending to be you. The wave is the ocean pretending to be individual. If these words struck a chord with you, I warmly encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Follow for more material that interrogates conventional wisdom about self-growth and person development. And drop a comment below with the word whole to tell me you're ready to welcome your whole, undamaged nature exactly as you exist at this instant.